Welcome to the NooK on the Voluntary Virtues Network. I'm Steve. I'm here today with John and Pamela and Mike.
Not touching myself.
Not touching himself.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, lucky stars.
Gruesome.
That'll be saved for the robot sex episode.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Right, because the robot sex episode is definitely going to be kosher on YouTube for sure.
and Mike is definitely an android.
Woo, hey, let's nobody look what's be going on behind my head here. Let's not do that. Not today.
So, what are you drinking, Mike?
Stone Ruination 2.0.
Nice.
2.0.
Ooh,
So this
is that any good? I haven't tried the 2.0.
It's very good. Try some. It's very hoppy. At least that's what I get out of it.
Oh, that's really good.
Right. So
I like hoppy beers, though.
Amazing. By local, of course, Stone Brewery in San Diego County. Still locally owned, from what I understand. Am I right about that?
Yeah, unlike Ballast Point and St. Archer and Lagunitas. Like, god damn it.
You know, lost to the Borg. They got sucked up. So
Anymore, you're going to need a freaking corporate map to figure out.
I know, right?
what
Right,
you're
flow
drinking.
chart. InBev is owned by working on Sweden. How did Sweden get involved in this? Who was owned by Disney? What? Viacom and
Coca-Cola.
owns MTV and Nickelodeon? What the fuck's up with that?
General
Weird.
Dynamics?
They make bombs?
What's this umbrella company corporation?
No way. A shell company? What the hell is that? Is that oil or not? Anyways, yeah, that's a different episode altogether. Have we really done one on corporatism just in general?
I don't think so.
All right, so episode in the future, corporatism. Done.
Good idea. Tonight, despite Jesse not being here,
Bum, bum, bum.
we miss you, Jesse, but
Dweeb.
have a good trip.
On his way.
He's not really focused on the movement.
We've got a chair for him if he shows up.
He's loitering.
No, he's a good guy. Jesse's a good guy.
He's enjoying the drop top Miata right now, is what's going on. I guarantee you.
Not really. But
No. Yeah, what happened to Miata? Is that like not functioning anymore? Or?
well, we'll talk about it off screen.
Okay. All right. So, super secret, Jesse and his tank. Right, got it. Off screen. Understood.
So anyway, what the fuck is up with libertarians being all like pro borders and shit lately?
Who are we talking about exactly?
Well, Lou Rockwell, Stefan Molyneux.
Yeah, okay. I don't quite understand that either. I think that if
First of all, Stefan Molyneux, he's been kind of going off the deep end for a while now.
yeah, I mean
Right.
the ivory tower is a comfortable place to be. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you know, if so in the position to be in an ivory tower, it might be kind of nice, but you know,
But
it's a lot of elephants.
and Lou Rockwell, he's been kind of he's not my favorite person out there, but for other reasons, his censorship, which is his own
It's
his own thing.
website.
It's his
so
website, yeah,
yeah, right.
but still, but being pro borders, that's like a whole nother level, you know? I mean, it seems to me like that's like one of the founding planks. We don't believe in imaginary lines created by states,
Yeah.
you know?
And it's when it comes to practicality, I mean, it really is a joke. You know, there is you've got people every day that get past in that's around these border checkpoints. Your San Ysidro, your what is it in Arizona? What's the big city on the border there? I'm drawing a blank. Nogales, thank you. They have all these big, fences, seemingly impenetrable, right? But yet people get past them all the time, every day. To the point where, comically so, and I really appreciated it, was to get drugs over the border. Weed, not so much, because that sort of operation is not really worth it for weed. But, harder stuff, whatever that means.
So you're not really getting good quality if it's coming from Mexico anyway these days.
With weed, no, not really, no. But so harder stuff, your coke, your pills, OxyContin, and whatnot. They're putting it into little bricks, and they're manufacturing catapults and flies over the border, and like some guy driving in the green coat, that's where that came from, by the way, was Border Patrol wears green coat, so green coat, that's where that came from. Drive along in his SUV, sees, where the fuck did that go? Well, by the time he finds out where that brick lands, half a mile away, there's already a couple trucks that drove up, caught that shit and drove off. They're gone. So this whole thing of we can stop shit at the border, people find a fucking way. To the point where, check this out, I think it was in TJ, they made a fucking ramp, where your general four-wheel drive vehicle, be it your Jeep Cherokee, or what's the standard model Jeep, what's that called? Wrangler. Either one of those. I'm just saying that as a general thing. The four-wheel drive vehicle, they made a ramp where you could just drive over that fucking thing, land on the other side, and go. And fucking go. And it worked. People did it. So this whole thing of we can stop people at the borders is logically insane, morally wrong. And then yet another example of how it's logically insane is that, guess what's happened more than half a dozen times, is where it's, they have a border checkpoint. You have all these cars lined up, and they have to go there. They have to wait for hours to get through the border. Guess what happens? Every now and then, you get about 200, 250 people that just go, fuck it, and they run the border. Guess what happens? Most of them get through. They just book it, because there's no way every single Border Patrol agent can arrest all of them, so they just fucking go. And that's where the tragedy is the fact that they're going into that thing knowing that a few of them are going to have to get shipped back, and they just run it and hope for the best. I mean, not mentioning any names, but a dude I work with, him and his mom ran across. His mom didn't make it. He had to go back at 10, 11 years old, because his mom didn't make it. And he's like, well, I can't leave my mom back there. He had to do it a second time, and they made it the second time around. It's this extent of human tragedy that is just amazing. You've got the United States, which is, without argument, the strongest state currency in the entire world, and our direct neighbor to the south has a currency that is, what is it now? 12, 13 times less valuable than our own. And that isn't going to cause a conflict. That isn't going to cause suffering. It's a manipulation. It's done that way for a reason. We have to demonize these people to the south. They speak a different language. Their skin is slightly darker than our own. Be it as it may that they are partly Spanish and, which is partly European, which you translate that down a couple generations, 1,000 years, we're all the fucking same. So, I mean, I'm done. I'm done. That's all I have to say. I'm done.
Well, this is what blows my mind is Lou Rockwell's whole argument was this violates property rights somehow. And he argues that, everything is either owned by individuals or else it's controlled by the government. And if it's controlled by the government, it's not legitimately their property.
Correct.
But it's not legitimately unowned either, because they use tax funds to pay for it. Therefore, taxpayers own that property, and therefore taxpayers are the legitimate owners of the property, and so you violate property rights by allowing immigrants through that taxpayers don't want there.
So the state has property rights is his argument,
But they don't.
but they don't. So
But it absolutely blows my mind because how can I don't understand how anybody can look at immigration laws. First of all, they're statist to the core. It's an imaginary line made up by a gang of thugs who steals your money and then harasses people for crossing this imaginary line in the dirt. And yeah, things would be different in a free society. We don't have a free society.
right.
But I can still be said to own property. And if I want to allow another human being to hang out on my property, if I want to contract with another human being to meet some mutual ends, aka hire somebody, who the fuck is the government? Is Lou Rockwell, for that matter, to tell me who I can and can't associate with? I mean, that seems like, to me, to be the core of voluntarism, the core of libertarianism.
Yeah. I don't get it either, but I can kind of see John over here itching at the trigger a little bit, and being very,
No, I didn't hear Molyneux's argument, and I wonder how it would stand up against his own anarchism in 30 days. Have y'all seen that video? It's ancient, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. But does it stand up against his own argument for anarchy? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't hear his argument as to why there should be immigration control, borders control, or anything like this. But
Well, Wes addressed this to him, right?
Yes, he did.
And he essentially took Molyneux from like 5 years ago and pitted him against Molyneux of today.
right.
Molyneux versus Molyneux, 5-year difference.
Yeah, and that's to say we should all be growing and not be caught
Yeah,
in
of course.
in a static condition. Not arguing what Molyneux's changes were. I'm simply saying that, yeah.
I'd be embarrassed to quote myself from 6 years ago for
Right.
sure.
Yeah, but
I
moving
mean,
forward and not moving backward, Molyneux seems to be backstepping.
Concur.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, and then the Syrian situation with the refugees and all that. There's a lot I've seen on this as well, and I'm surprised the attitude I'm seeing from, confessed libertarian anarchists, voluntarists on the subject.
Other than Chris Cantwell, okay, all right.
I don't even listen to him,
Yeah,
so
fair
I don't
enough.
even know what he says. So.
I listen to the dude every now and then, and it's kind of the same nonsense. Yeah. So.
But so here's what I think about the situation. It's wrong to use stolen money to relocate people, to provide for them and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
The government is also forbidding people to sponsor, for lack of a better term, these refugees. So you can't.
Don't be too surprised.
But there is a push to have that happen, because there's a lot of people who would want to support these people, because it is just an absolute mess. Basically, a proxy war between us and Russia right now in Syria.
Yeah.
With us fighting us and Russia.
Us and us. Us and
Us and us. ISIS.
Well, Americans hate Assad. They also hate ISIS, and they're fighting each other.
Mhm.
So we're not we're American thugs are supplying both ISIS, but also fighting ISIS in Syria.
So is
And then
So is
Russia is
Assad.
also and so is Assad.
Right.
But we don't like Assad, so we're fighting them too.
and we don't.
But Russia does like Assad and is fighting their enemies, which is ISIS.
Well,
And
yeah,
apparently
because,
McCain or
yeah.
Lindsey Graham is just irate that it's the Russians kicking ISIS
Yeah.
ass.
but I mean the whole region's a mess, and you have 4 million displaced refugees
Mhm.
who are seeking asylum in various places and not getting a very warm reception.
Take those who claim to be Christian to task and who say, don't care for your fellow man, reject their pleas for refugee status or whatever.
Right.
Speaking of ISIS, trying not to get off topic, but it's really, current events and poignant to the time we're in. Pictures being worth a thousand words. There's a picture of John McCain in the same room as the guy,
The leader of ISIS.
Yeah.
leader of
Yeah.
ISIS, al-Baghdadi, and at the time, any article related to that was he was negotiating an arms deal with the rebel group against Assad. That same group, however you may want to describe it, became what is now considered ISIS.
Yeah, I think there's a picture out there with Zbigniew Brzezinski and
Bin Laden.
yeah, Bin Laden rolling around
yeah,
too, right?
that exists also. Yeah.
Zbig's the current. I think his title is not national security advisor, but geopolitical something advisor to the president, whatever.
Oh, he has a title still, huh?
Well, unless he's jumped ship for one of the candidates running now. I don't know. But that's
Is he
possible.
doing the Dick Cheney baboon heart thing? He's pretty old, isn't he? He's got to be in his early 90s. He has to be.
Yeah, he's old as shit. Even his
Right.
daughter Mika, she's getting vintage.
Well,
So, but I don't see a lot of people attacking the idea of government intervention in Syrian refugees, but I see a lot of them attacking the Syrian refugees like they might be terrorists. Like, really? You're a libertarian and you're saying that you're scared of the terrorists in...
yeah. I mean, so wait. I mean, let's think about this for a second.
Peace out. See ya.
Oh, airport bound. John's got some obligations that we can't talk about on the air. Well, we could, but let's not, just for funsies. Christy? Christy's
No,
not.
come on down.
Christy's
Next
camera shy.
contestant.
Yeah.
Come on
Okay.
down.
Come on down. Join the show. Yeah.
No, but I see all this stuff like this meme I saw earlier today. It said you have 10,000 M&Ms and 10 of them are poisoned. Are you gonna grab a handful? Well, first of all, that's not even an accurate representation. A more accurate representation is you have 4 million, and you are being forced to eat 10,000 of them.
Mhm.
But they're gonna be tested for poison. 4,000 of the 4 million might be poison, but they will be tested before they're brought in.
Mm-hmm.
And
Where are you going?
I forget. I lost my train of thought.
Well,
I have M&Ms in my head and I'm hungry.
yeah, chocolate's delicious, and
My point is that there's nothing we can do about them coming in. What we can do is be humans and try to help them when they get here.
It's just further oppression. The wars are created and then the people suffer
Yeah.
yeah.
needlessly.
I guess to show my colors and express in a part why there's no hope for me is to use an analogy from Roman history was so the narrative now is fear the immigrants, the people who are coming into, we don't know them, we don't know who they are, fear them. So Caesar, when he was conquering Gaul, there was I think it was the Veneti, Ventii. Don't quote me on that, I'm probably wrong, but I'm close.
Veneti?
Veneti, VNTI, whatever. Anyway, so doesn't matter. There was a tribe that was going through what was considered Roman Gaul, which was kind of like a very gray area. It was like, we consider this to be part of our thing. And so they were migrating through that area to get to the coast of what is now like the lower part of France. They were going to live there. And Caesar said, well, they are a threat to
national
Rome.
security.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he didn't say national security, but he said they're a threat to Rome, and this is Roman territory. They can't come through here, and this was not without this tribe sending communication to Caesar's legion saying, "Hey, we just need to get from point A to point B. We're just going through here. We don't want to harm anything. We're just going from one point to another." And he was like, oh, okay. And he sends a letter to the Senate. Oh, well, they're still invading our territory. What should we do? He didn't get a response from the Senate, so Caesar said, let's attack them. Let's stop them because they're a threat to the Roman state. And there's a work, the Caesar's campaigns in Gaul, which is, I mean, all based on Caesar's narrative. So how truthful is that? Where he's saying that they do all sorts of horrible, barbaric traditions of doing this and putting people in wicker baskets, and there's no evidence of that ever other than what he said, and we stop them. And so that was his rationale, and that's what he sent to the Senate was, we stopped these horrible barbaric people from coming from one place to another. Well, you want to know what happened? So he had a couple battles and attacked the people who could defend the tribe, however you want to say it, these stronger people in the tribe, be it male or female, and most likely most of them male, but some of them female too, if they were more equipped to do that sort of a thing. And killed them all. And the people who survived were sold into slavery. So Caesar made out like a gangbuster, and not only that, made himself out to be the hero of saving Roman territory. So, I mean, the sad thing is that this has been going on for thousands of years, this sort of narrative of we have to stop those people who have a different culture and different language than we do. We have to stop them where they're at, because if they come here, they're going to somehow poison the culture.
That's what I was thinking. Is so if we're going to discuss immigration and we're trying to get an idea through, let's focus on the issues that so-called statists would have with immigration. Like, they're going to come in and take our jobs. How are we going to feed them? It's going to take resources from Americans. How would you answer that? Because it's not going to. I mean, we all know that it's not going to, but those are the real issues. That's really what concerns people about having open borders.
So I think what's his name?
Sounds like, looks like
comedian
Stanhope.
Stanhope, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think he has a really excellent thing on that. It's like, he says, he's from Bisbee, Arizona, which is right on the border. He says, I every day I see these guys coming over the hills, and okay, so they don't speak the language. Don't talk to them. Yeah, and I see these guys coming over, and they have all these, there's the cliched argument that they don't speak the language, they won't assimilate, and all those arguments go against the primary argument, which is they're taking American jobs. And he says, I see these guys coming over the hills. You're right. They don't speak the language. They don't have shoes half the time. They come over, all dehydrated from wandering the desert trying to get in.
Now I remember it. Keep going.
They're just standing there. It's like, and if that guy is as qualified for your job as you are a loser of epic proportions.
That wasn't very kind, but...
If he can take your job via pantomime, do this. Boink, boink.
Yeah.
Boink, boink. Ah, CC. Boink, 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 boink. Oh, okay. Yeah. Then you obviously, your job
outta
isn't,
here, chucklehead.
incredibly that complicated, I mean, it's, I haven't seen it personally, and I worked in what may as well be considered construction for 5.5 years, and I never saw somebody who didn't have any sort of paperwork or whatever, who was just like, swing hammer, boink, 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 and came in and took somebody else's job. And it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. It's not real.
No,
I mean,
I think the biggest issues are how these immigrants are being treated when they get here. Where I lived in a rural area in my teens, and my dad worked at a co-op, and he would see these farmers coming in all the time talking about, I'll get my Mexican to do it, and not all of them were like this, but he's told me about one guy who had this family living in his shed, doing work on his property, and it's basically the new slavery, the way they treat some of these people. And it's disgusting.
A neo-feudalism, if you will. That's the way I see it. It's generally along those terms, yeah.
But it means cheap produce,
Yeah.
But you could, if you got rid of this false idea of this imaginary line, you were born in a different place from me, therefore you're a different type of person. You're not worth as much because you weren't born on this side of this imaginary line. It creates this class system of people who, underclass, who can be treated differently from other people.
And it should be mentioned that how much the state is an influence in that. I mean,
absolutely,
okay, so I understand that's been the general thread of who we're talking about, but to emphasize over the George Orwell special that flies over every time we do the show, how is it that we can sit here and say that, not we, obviously the people here, but the nation, whatever that is, as a whole, can say that these people are doing certain things that are influencing us negatively when everything that is done as we say is like, they're doing menial jobs that are horrible and terrible and nobody really wants to do them.
I did them in high school.
Yeah, I mean, that's, that's stuff that, so nobody wants to do that, right? But they're doing it, and then people say, that's terrible, they're taking people's jobs. It's like, well, I'm just letting you know, dude who works a job who's getting paid $80,000, $90,000 a year doesn't want to mow his lawn. And he wants to pay for $5, $6 drink at Starbucks, but he doesn't want to fucking mow his lawn. He's paying somebody else to do it. And it may not be the best price, but he's paying somebody to do it. And the whole idea of what's the fair price and what isn't is a completely different episode. But it brings to mind, so do you remember The Animatrix? Did you ever see that?
Maybe a long time ago.
Rewatch it. So, so what if you have sentient machines that want to come to a certain location, okay, and they may provide for their upkeep provide certain services to keep themselves going, keep themselves recharged. you can use that analogy. I'm sorry, there was a horrible canned laughter. But if we could do that, if they would do that sort of thing, would that be kosher? Would that be acceptable to most people? That you would have certain
I don't know, but it looks like we're out of time.
Damn it! We always run out of time right when we get to the good shit.
We will get to the good shit one of these days, though.
One day we'll get to it.
Have a good one.
Take care. See you next week.